Looking to the southeast, I would like to say, as you did in your opening statement, Mr. Chairman, that we support Turkey's aspirations for membership in the European Union. As Turkey advances reforms that will make it an even stronger partner and a better neighbor. We are engaged energetically to support efforts by Turkey and Armenia to normalize relations and efforts by Armenia and Azerbaijan to settle the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. As you may know, I just myself returned from a trip to the region just a few weeks after being confirmed. I felt it was important to go to the region to signal our support for those countries and to do what we can to promote the historic processes that are going on. We also support the negotiations toward the settlement in Cyprus and vigorously promote diversification of European energy supplies. We will continue to develop our relationship with the Central Europeans, who are now core members of NATO and the EU and increasingly important global partners.
And with respect to Azerbaijan, in the context of the engagement between Turkey and Armenia, there are obviously certain sensitivities with respect to Azerbaijan. I think the Secretary very ably, when the Azerbaijan Foreign Minister visited Washington, talked about the strategic importance of Azerbaijan. I'd like to ask you what steps the administration is taking to bolster the American relationship with Azerbaijan. What steps are we taking to navigate the course of the engagement between Turkey and Armenia so that Azerbaijan comes out a winner as well? And very specifically, you may be aware, I introduced legislation with Congressman Schuster that would lift Jackson-Vanik trade restrictions for Azerbaijan, and would ask if you're prepared to comment at all in that regard.
If I might address the question of Azerbaijan, which is also very important, and as I said, only a couple of weeks into my own tenure in office, I decided to go to Armenia and Azerbaijan and Georgia because it seemed to me that of all the many challenges we face in this vast region, there are some serious opportunities there, and you talked about what they are. You have two parallel but separate tracks going on, a Turkey-Armenia normalization reconciliation process that we do think is quite potentially historic, where the two countries have agreed on a framework for normalizing their relations that would include opening the border, which has been closed for far too long, which would establish diplomatic relations and would provide commissions in key areas, including history. And we encourage that process and we support it. We have said that it is an independent process and believe that it should move forward regardless of whatever else is happening in Europe or anywhere else, because both countries would benefit. That said, it is nonetheless the case that at the same time, negotiations on Nagorno-Karabakh are going on between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and that is part of the context in which the region moves forward, and we're encouraging that process as well. So, again, our view is that these are separate tracks. They're moving forward at different speeds, but we are engaged vigorously on both, because if both were to succeed, it really would be a historic opportunity for the region from which all three of those countries would benefit.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bilirakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Gordon, thank you for your public service and your testimony here today. I have two questions. First, since the 1974 Turkish invasion, over 36% of the territory of the Republic of Cyprus has been occupied by approximately 43,000 Turkish troops. Can you comment on how the U.S. can use its close relationship with Turkey to convince it to remove the disproportionate and unnecessary number of troops from Cyprus, thereby removing a major hurdle on its path of accession to the EU? And secondly, I'm convinced that the government of Turkey continues to prosecute journalists and academics under Article 301 for writing about the Armenian Genocide. Most recently, the persecution of Turkey's first literature Nobel laureate Orhan Pamuk was upheld by Istanbul's highest appeals court. His trial is expected to resume this year for his remarks about the Armenian Genocide. In light of Turkey's continued prosecution of intellectuals who express themselves, what steps will you outline with the Turkish government to ensure greater freedom of press and expression in Turkey? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for both of those questions. On the first, as described earlier, we have a very clear type of Cyprus settlement in mind that would be a bizonal, bicommunal federation, single sovereignty. It's for the parties to decide exactly how that comes out in terms of territory and refugee return and troops and demilitarization. But in any imaginable Cyprus plan that I've seen and that the parties are discussing, it would also involve a significant reduction in outside forces on the island, including Turkish forces. So again, the path to the outcome that you described, which is a reduction of the Turkish military presence in Cyprus, is the Cyprus settlement, and that's why we're so engaged and so keen to have one. It would bring about the outcome that you referred to, and it would benefit both sides in so many ways. As for freedom of expression in Turkey and Article 301, I can say the United States everywhere is a strong, and the Obama administration is a strong proponent of freedom of expression, freedom of the media, freedom of the press, free societies. Turkey took some steps last year to revise Article 301 of its penal code that made it more difficult to have political prosecutions. That was an important step forward. It would do well to continue down that path and allow for more freedom of expression. And we have a constant dialogue with the Turkish government about these issues, and we'll continue to make that view clear.